welcome back. It's been a few weeks
while.
Yeah, it's been about 3 weeks here.
Yeah, man.
Lots of stuff going on. I had one kid in surgery. For those of you who don't know, I'm Randy. I'm over at Ovation Music and Studios. We're
And
supporting
I'm
the
Aaron.
salty road here. Hopefully Paul McCartney does not see this. These were a fundraiser shirt, though.
That's all right. Please don't copy strike.
Don't copy strike me for my CF fundraiser shirt, please.
I saw the famous YouTuber Rick Beato was talking about like Don Henley appealing to Congress and saying that he has like a team of like 80 people watching YouTube videos every day to flag songs.
Yes.
I'm like, whew.
I'm gonna flip some extra light on here. It's a little dark. Warner has 80 people who do nothing but YouTube strikes. They have a separate staff for other strikes for other companies. So they're hiring. So if you need a job,
God, I'd hate that
call
job.
up. We shouldn't call these guys out. I mean,
no. Gosh.
We are gonna get a copy strike going straight for Sony and what is it, Warner? It's Sony EMI and Warner Publishing House or Publishing. Yeah, they're trying to remove even educational videos. It's kind of crazy. What I do here, we're not even sure where it falls under copyright law. We talk about the songs and occasionally play some licks that may be from the songs inaccurately. For educational purposes. The discussion here is, how do you guys feel about songs, and what kind of songs do you like, and why do you like them? So this week, Aaron and I have picked What is Hip? From Power's debut self-titled album in 1973. You know, that's my favorite year for records.
I didn't. Actually, I don't know. I didn't know if that was your favorite or not. I feel like you've told me, but what else was released then?
Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Well, yeah.
And Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention's Overnight Sensation.
Yeah, man. I feel like most years in the 70s you can pick and be pretty safe too.
I think Giant Steps may have came out that same year too. I'd have to look that up though. Don't quote me on Giant Steps.
It might be a little earlier.
Which is by far my favorite record ever.
Nice.
Not for the sound quality. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's another thing, but I feel like What is Hip picked me for what we were gonna do.
We started out and we had a little discussion here about the bass player Rocca.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
On the scene before Jaco Pastorius, heavy metal doesn't exist really. Black Sabbath has like 3 records out, but they're not metal. AC/DC has a record out. I think Wishbone Ash may actually be the heaviest band at this time. And this guy is driving eighth notes like he plays in a death metal band. Funky.
Or 16th in this case.
16th, yeah.
In this case.
You could easily just turn that into a metal song, that riff.
So, like, What is Hip, right? This song is like... It's one of the earliest cases, I think, of someone using a and building a funk song around a driving, droning, like lower note. And in the bass part, I remember seeing, and I was just talking about this earlier, but the drummer David Garibaldi, I hope I'm saying his last name right. He was talking about when Rocco Prescio like came up to him and was like, hey, I want to make this song. It's going to have this low bass note kind of, hanging like that. And it's going to be a funk song. And David just was like, I don't know. And he was like, boy, was I wrong. It was like, it couldn't have been like a funkier hit.
Yeah. I don't have my bass plugged up, but basically that bass line is just.
Yeah, well, actually, you know what? Let me grab the bass really quick and
it's a weird muting thing. He's not muting with his right hand.
I know.
Grab your bass. Show us this because I know you were working on it. It sounded really cool too. So he's muting. He's holding his first finger or second finger on the note, and then using his pinky to mute the string. On guitar, it kind of sounds like that. Most people that I know of that use this muting sound put a piece of foam in their bridge.
Yeah, and this guy.
And even early, the ashtray on early Fender basses would actually have an adjustable piece, the foam piece that you could raise and lower if you wanted to mute the strings. So like if you get a 50s style Fender bass, it should have that if it's original.
Yeah. But this case, he's doing it like
He's doing it
there's
with
a
his left
great
hand.
like what's that?
He's doing it with his left hand.
Yeah, yeah. That sound that he gets out of it, it's like
Let's get some more of that bass, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me how. Yeah, that'll probably work. This. That particular sound that he's getting out of it, he has this little like his he says in like there's a great instructional video. I say great because like his playing is great and he describes it pretty well too, like really well, like what his technique is. You just you got to get used to the background music sounding a little dated, but that's okay. But his playing, he's got this like he puts his middle finger on, like in this case, the 7th fret of the A string.
Okay.
And he's like, that's the note, that's E. But he allows his ring and pinky to lay in front of it like this. And he goes, it's not a ghost note. A ghost note is when you're like, you don't fully engage that fret. You kind of like rests above it. And that's kind of what a ghost note would sound like. But he's actually pushing into that and then letting his ring and pinky like kind of just chill on top of that string above it. And you get this really thuddy sound. And he's got these little riffs. What's the when he gets back into it, it goes back into this like little it's some cool riffs. It's I got to be honest with you, I am happily practicing it because his level of accuracy is so impressive. There's lots of great riffs in this song, bass wise, that being like the one he uses in the very opening part.
Yeah.
The main one, which like you got this like 1 E into 2 E into 3 E into 4 E into 1 E into 2 E into, and you got this little, so you got this E. We get all 3 octaves of E in like in a very short amount of time.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you put some distortion on that and you got a heavy metal.
You know what's funny is that you make that comment, because the first thing I think of when I was first practicing this, I was going, and I was like, it's like, oh yeah. Because the very first thing I learned on guitar that used a whole lot of palm muting was Eye of the Tiger. Of course it was. But that's still like,
I love that song.
I mean, classic, right? So it's classic, but you got like where in that one you use your pick.
Yeah, you're playing on guitar, so you use it.
This is really like a great bass equivalent of that sound, right? Like that you could like, it really does have that same feeling as palm muting.
It does. It does. It sounds similar to palm muting on bass, and it does sound different than the felt bass stops. It's a little. It's like you can do more with it emotionally because you can get some extra accents in that don't have the mute on. Because on bass mute you can't turn it off. It's either on or off, and then you have to tighten, loosen the screws back up.
In some of these riffs, like he hops in and out of it, like when you have some of the riffs, like it would be pretty impossible to do some of it, but this little like, he's got a little like, there's this little, and it's like, it's like you can go from playing it out to putting that mute on it.
How tired do you think he is at the end of the song?
Say what?
How tired do you think he is at the end of the song? It's I actually have it up in the program, and it's 6 minutes and 8 seconds long. I think there's a 30-second interlude in the middle where they pause.
Well, there's like
he does this for like 5.5 minutes straight.
well, there's like the chorus has got like what is hip? It's got so you get these little like, and he puts that little palm mute in there like so seamless. I'm not even, I'm hitting the notes technically, but it's like still the way he does it is like he's got that little like that little mute there, it is so cool. It is like my new favorite. You know, I grew up with a lot of like listening to a lot of cool bass players, like Chuck Rainey especially, but you know, everyone like, you know, Victor Wooten and other classics like, you know, like Jamerson, and you know, there's like so many great bass players, and for some reason I missed this one, and that's one of my greatest regrets. Until
Ah,
like,
man, you're picking him up now. We all are.
I know he's so good. I've just been obsessed. Well, I'm the reason I was like, hey, what do you want to do? I'm like Tower of Power. Like I want to have a reason to talk about it because I'm digging on it so much lately. You know, the bass parts especially are so good.
So yeah, the bass parts stand out. The other thing that stood out to me instantly was the guitar player is playing through an amp, which I find in this dance style, especially on the clean guitars, to hear like an amp with reverb on it is really odd to me because usually it's like, nah, plug the guitar player in the console and then turn him down.
Right. Yeah, give it that really dry DI.
Which is kind of a super dry. You know, you maybe still stack a compressor in front of it. Let me turn the amp sim off here. But you get this kind of. And you know that's what you're used to hearing from all the Little Richard, James Brown, and even a lot of the Beatles stuff. When they have anything that's funkier that the Beatles did, is this DI sound.
Yeah.
A lot of the guitar parts coming out of Muscle Shoals in the '60s, DI guitar, straight, no reverb. And then you get with Tower of Power, you get this guy who's got this sound. And it's so nice and warm, and I absolutely love it because they plugged an amp up. Wow,
yeah.
Go figure.
That's funny you should mention like, you know, like Stacked Records and stuff, because I know they played with, you know, Steve Cropper and a lot of those guys.
Yeah, on the Memphis stuff, a lot of that was Steve Cropper, and he would play amps and stuff, but he really didn't. I don't think of his guitar playing as being this sort of muty, slidey.
No, it's not. It's not.
He's much more of a like really chordy kind of melody with chords, choppy single notes. I don't know. He does so much; it's hard to narrow him down to one little thing.
Yeah.
You know, but that's sitting on the Talk of the Bay guitar part. Booker T and the MGs, he's doing lots of single lines.
Yeah.
I can't think of a Booker T song that has driving eighth notes in the bass. They're probably pretty similar genres.
Yeah. I mean, I can't either. Like a really early example of like something that's doing this, because you know, I think
you know what the early example of that is? Black Sabbath, Paranoid. It was the same bass line. Watch.
I think it's but that's still like an eighth note groove, or this is like a 16th.
Yeah, this is truly is a 16th note. Yeah.
So I still give it that difference, like for where the accents feel. But I'm so used to when I think funk, I think the 16th subdivisions are like, you know, like they're sparse, or if they're constant, they're like maybe on the hi-hat or something. But I definitely don't think constant 16th notes on one instrument, like on the bass part especially.
I think that idea changed people's view of funk too, because when I think of funk, I think of that hi-hat playing the 16th note, but it has to move. Like if it's perfectly in time and smooth, then it's not funky anymore. It has to be a little bit wonky. I don't want to say wonky.
Somewhat disco-y.
It has to have like a feel to it, and like beat 2 has to be a little bit on the late side. It's in time, but it's as late in time as you could possibly be. And 3 maybe is a little bit early, so it feels even later.
All I'm hearing is Sissy Strut right now.
Sissy Strut is super funky.
Yeah, that's a whole different kind of funk. Not a whole different, but that's definitely a different kind of super funky.
I'm gonna have to go through the Parliament catalog now and see how much of that has straight 16th notes.
But so yeah, I guess the other thing, I looked at the bass part for this and, you know, geeked out for a while on that. I did also look at some of the horn arrangements, and I did like I don't know, little chunks of the song here because there's some really cool.
There's a lot going on the horns.
Yeah, so there's
Really
5 horns,
beats.
right? There's 2 tenor saxes, and usually the way they stand on the bandstand, they usually have like stage left is tenor sax, and in the middle they put the bari, which is Doc, and then trumpet, and so it's a 5-piece like that. So and that's I picked apart some of those, which I think at the early on, one of the tenors was occasionally an alto, but that was like, I don't even know if that.
Yeah, I would imagine when you're playing with a band like this, even your trumpet player, probably one of your trumpet players has to play a second instrument like trombone or something, and then you got one of your saxophone players plays soprano and alto.
I guess maybe, but man, I've been on such a binge lately, but I haven't
I
seen.
feel like Tower Power also has flute parts,
I haven't heard any.
but
I haven't heard, but
maybe I'm remembering some other band.
I don't know. I don't know. I
But
know that the most typical setup I saw was that. Was
2 tenor saxes, bari sax, and 2 trumpets. That's kind of an odd, unique thing because you really have a low end, a mid range, and an upper instrument. You really don't have an alto instrument at all.
Yeah. I don't know, like.
Because that alto register part would be delivered by an alto sax, clarinet, trombone, kind of the French horn if you're playing an orchestra. But for funk music, I think of trombone players really.
Yeah.
A bunch of them. Conrad Herwig, phenomenal. Played with Zappa a little bit.
Yeah, I know. We'll see. I was kind of like, I don't want to, or I don't think we have to go through like every single part. But
no, absolutely not.
But I did have some. I got like, so like the beginning of the song's got these little hits, and some of it is like, some of it's a little hard to pick out for me. I checked out some live versions too, but
it took me forever to get the roots, man.
We'll get ready for the
something. I got the rhythm wrong there, but the idea, that walk up.
Let me grab a little bit of the what is hip. There's like the actual chorus just for fun.
Okay.
So you're about to hear the greatest MIDI horn sounds of your life. So get ready. No, it's so, but I don't know. We can still learn something from MIDI horns. And I did do the trumpet solo.
Yeah, and then that's the.
Yeah. It has a neat little moment where it goes up to that high E, and then the guitarist like layers over that.
Yeah, the guitar player comes right in on that.
Yeah. Like with the trumpet at the same time. But so like the chorus of this one, it goes like what is hip, and it hits like a big like I have all the horns, like you've got 5 parts, but right there they're all like
1-5-1-5, right?
It's think overtone series, right? It's 1 octave, 5th octave. Like
okay.
So like Barry's got the low E, and then you've got another E with the lower tenor, and then another E with the next tenor, and then the first or second trumpet has the 5th, and then the top trumpet has another octave. So it's like E, B, E,
Yeah.
But and then they have a bluesy riff here going into the flat 6 chord. So we go from like an E kind of funk sound to a C dominant sound. And actually this C sound, it's kind of like, and I always talk about this being the most underrated funk chord, and that's the 5 minor over 1. And you can hear here that chord, they play this little melody together. Let me make sure it's right here. Oh, sorry. Can you actually hear my piano? I was gonna do that.
I'm not hearing the piano.
Okay, sorry, I got sidetracked. There we go. Beautiful.
Yeah, that sounds great.
On. So the chord that like when it hits that little, they all play that together, like in different octaves. Think of like an E blues scale, but like it starts on the octave, or starts on like the high E, and then it jumps down to the flat 5 for flat 3. So it's like 1 to flat 5, 4, and then flat 3. Yeah. When it lands on that flat 3.
Yeah, my
when it
ear's
lands on that
terrible
flat.
today.
Say what?
My ear's terrible today. I can't hear intervals.
It was that really bad note that I played turning my keyboard on that messed your ear up. So it does that little blues riff kind of thing, and then when it lands there, we get this guy, which is, it's a 5 minor over 1. In this case, it's a G minor chord with a C in the bass. The root of the chord is still like, it's still a C, but exactly, yeah, no third, right? But it goes from that main riff, and then they all kind of split apart right on the downbeat of that. Again, great MIDI.
Yeah, and they play the chord, but the guitar player's got the third.
Oh, you know what? I defer to you because I did not spend.
I'm pretty sure the guitar player is just playing the 9 voicing and moving it around. It didn't sound like he removed the third there, because I did not hear that as a 5 minor over 1 sound at all. It sounded like a C9.
Oh, okay.
And maybe it's because the bass player is playing the C, and so it just drives that. When the bass player is playing a note, it drives the sound of the chord for me.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say, "Oh, it's a E over D chord." And no, I was like, it's a D913, because that D is so strong for me, whatever's on bottom.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
you guys check that out and let us know in the comments. Are they leaving that third out there? They're definitely leaving it out with the horns. Or does the guitar player?
Yeah. I think the third a lot of times gets for guitar players, you learn that shape and then you just do it over and over again. I definitely like. I don't know. I didn't listen to the guitar part. I listened to the horn parts.
It's such an interesting guitar part, man.
I know. It's like, you think I would because I'm a guitar player, but I was too interested in the bass.
That's how interesting the guitar part is. And I don't have that rhythm exact, but that's kind of the idea. And that's all he does until he's playing leads.
And then, but leading, like, so after that chord, then they do the same thing, except it goes, you get that riff, or that chord, which this particular one, I'm way too loud, sorry. Pretty funkiness. Now that would be a B7 sharp 5. And the way they voice it, like with the horns, because you got 5 voices, they do like 1, it's like 1 flat 7, third sharp 5, and then the root again on top. So that's a pretty common voicing on guitar. Yeah,
it sounds like the guitar voicing.
Yeah, but it's even got the little E string 7th fret in there too.
It's got the B on top.
Yeah, you can hear the little.
Okay.
Yeah, that little bit. And then after that, it does this little like, this little build up here, which I was like, what are these? Like, what exactly is going on? And I thought it was an interesting sound. So like this, like, yeah, you can hear there's, yeah, well, see, the thing is, it's doing a key change into G, right? Like, it's going up to the key of G. It's approaching it. But it's so that trumpet almost, I have it as 5 voices, but that trumpet sounded like an overdub to me, like an extra solo they put in. So like, and you can check with me on that, because the chords underneath that sound,
cool. Yeah,
it's like, that's another 5 minor over 1, but it puts the root on top. You get this like, so it's like it's a B minor over E, but it also has an E in that top note as well. And of course they go like, they have the, you can hear there's like a little chromatic thing in there too.
Yep,
But
he
it's
just walks through the chords.
yeah. And so it's
Yeah, you
like a
they're just passing chords. You wouldn't even think about them. I don't even think about them as being in the key. It's the E, and then it's in the key of G for a second. But I am when I hear this, that's what I heard was a bunch of key changes. I didn't hear a cohesive central key. The song's in E, and then it goes to C, and then it comes back to E, and then it goes to G. You know,
yeah. I think it's mostly an E, and then that chorus is like that chorus is definitely G. The boom ba da 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 boom boom, or you know that little that little move there.
mm-hmm.
So like that's definitely there, but it was like I don't know. I like those little more 5 minor over 1 kind of things, and then octave on the top too. Yeah.
Cool.
It's a nice sound. I think like besides all the horn stuff, like I looked at that, and I did look at some of the earlier parts. There's like this nifty little move that happens in the verse. And then you get this little like, and then I was like, oh, that's a cool little. You get a nice like E13 chord that it like just drops in there just for that little moment.
Yeah, and the guitar player is tracing all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's following right along. He's either comping rhythm with the hi-hat or playing the horn parts.
Yeah.
When the horns are making this parallel 9-chord motion or this minor 5 over 1 motion, they make it all parallel. Or the guitar player just follows that stuff. Otherwise, he's just kind of comping.
Resist the urge for play that funky music.
Huh?
Time to resist the urge for the Wild Cherry song.
Yeah, right.
Like resist the urge.
I feel like I found it just really neat to hear a guitar doing that part and it be through an amp. I've just you're not going to find very many recordings where the guitar player is playing totally background rhythm parts and horn lines that isn't a DI'd guitar through a Neve console,
yeah,
or an SSL console, or some sort of console preamp, because that has a very particular sound that's really nice for comped electric guitar. Especially
what's your theory for that? I have a theory, but what's your theory?
My theory is when they were doing that stuff a lot, amplifiers have a lot of low end, and when you have an amplifier in the room with the drummer, you can't get as tight of a drum sound because of the low end rumble from the guitars. So that in combination with just put the guitar player in the control room, or the guitar player is producing, maybe he's an overdub, all kinds of things like that, as opposed to when the guitar player was doing chops in the generation before this, and the funky guitar would be, he would never play just straight. It's more choppy like that. You put the guitar player like 30 feet away from the drummer and take his headphones off.
Yeah.
and so when you want the guitar player right on top of the beat the whole time, you kind of want to slap him in the headphones. So some combination of all that stuff. Plus, they're printing the tape. Guitar amp reverb is really bright and loud, so maybe they just didn't want as much. They wanted more cymbals.
Is this a thing that is usually in horn bands? Would you say that there's like some real estate that they're trying to keep the guitar out of?
Probably, yeah. That could absolutely be true too.
I'm just curious,
because horns and guitars are kind of sonically, when we talk about frequencies, a 5-piece horn section is going to fill the exact same frequencies as an electric guitar, and then both of those things are in the same space as the vocalist and the snare drum. So very quickly you can lose your vocalist, and anytime you're recording any kind of music, if you lose the vocalist entirely, you're going to lose your audience. That's just how it is. The general public listens to vocalists. They don't listen to bands. Or instrumental bands would sell better. But props to Kenny G, man. Stadiums.
The thesis
as
of
an
this
instrumentalist.
Thank you, Kenny.
You gotta give him some props for it because nobody else is playing stadiums as an instrumentalist.
I almost went like, I was like, thank you, Kenny G. I was like, wait, he's still alive.
No, he's still with us. He's still playing great. He's not playing stadiums anymore, but it didn't last long.
Yeah.
Other instrumentalists that have been that big, I mean, there's just
Yeah.
it's just not there at all. Eric Johnson had the one song that got a bunch of radio play.
He still had vocals at his shows too.
Yeah, but none of the songs with vocals made the radio.
Desert Rose did.
Oh, that's right. Desert Rose.
Desert Rose for sure did. Yeah.
And they still play Cliffs of Dover. So yeah, real estate. But real estate's the thing, and it's which part of the real estate are you getting in the way of? And the guitar player is always getting in the way of somebody else's real estate.
Yeah.
Guitar is a full frequency instrument. So anytime guitar is playing with horns and pianos, they have to limit what the guitar sounds like.
Yeah. I think about the on the subject of keeping guitars really dry and clean. I think of like some of the bigger like Michael Jackson records, and that's like the driest guitar you ever hear.
Yeah. Quincy Jones, man, goes back and does that old school guitar direct in the console for a lot of the rhythm stuff.
A lot of funky guitar is very dry, but this song, What Is Hip, is
not.
He's
playing like it sounds like a Fender Twin with single coil Stratocaster in it, turned up with reverb sync on.
I'm all right with that.
It's nice. I'm actually using the PRS V9, so I don't have to listen to the Twin in the room with me. I absolutely love a Twin, but I don't like 140 dB 6 inches from my ear.
I could do without that.
It's too much. It's designed for bands to play in stadiums without microphones.
Right.
And then the Levitation from Earthquaker Effects, man. If you guys haven't checked them out, they're not paying me at all. I wish they would pay me because I keep buying their stuff.
It makes life a little easier.
But they don't have a reason to pay me because I'm going to keep paying them. So that's the reverb I got. It's maybe a little too much, but it's funky. It's kind of like a fake spring. Maybe it's springish. And I'm in like a pseudo 2 position. It's more like a Telecaster position. There actually isn't a single coil in this guitar.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Telecasters just don't sound like Strats.
For some reason.
At all. The Strat with humbuckers sounds more like a Strat than a Telecaster with single coils.
I don't know what that's about.
As a body, you go talk to the scientists on that one.
We'll leave that up to the scientists.
People go crazy over this stuff. Iron Maiden would be a heavy metal band if they didn't play Stratocasters. People get nuts about the sound of a Strat. Is it tinky? Is it thin? Does it sound okay in standard tuning? Should you always tune it down? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, it's certainly a very flexible sounding instrument. It can go.
This track is a Stratocaster through a Fender amp.
As God intended.
The distortion sound on the front end of it, I really couldn't get a good read on. It's almost like it's parallel. So I'm thinking it's some sort of early overdrive. 1973, I don't know what that would have been. I wish you guys would let me know. I don't think Ibanez I don't think the TS-808 was out yet.
I don't know.
I'm not sure what the date on the 808 is, and I don't know if it would have been made by Ibanez at that time. Would it have been a Maxon or Ibanez who would have actually manufactured it? But it's that sound, and just to give you a little hint here, here's a little. I actually have the ODR1, which is kind of similar to an 808. It's got a little more juice to it. Allows you to keep some definition, but it can still be kind of fuzzy.
Yeah.
Sounding, because it doesn't sound like he's playing a pure fuzz to me, which is really nasty and overblown.
Maybe for this genre especially.
Yeah, and I don't have a fuzz on my board, so I just went with the ODR1.
Yeah, man.
And the fuzz I have in Pro Tools, though I love it and I use it all the time for saturation, like especially on cymbals.
Mhm.
I hate it on solo guitar tracks.
What are we talking about?
we're trying to figure out how this guy's getting this solo tone on what is hip. Is it overdrive? Is it fuzz? Is it distortion? Doesn't matter.
I don't know. I assume it's overdrive, but I didn't listen to it as much. So
I mean, it could have been a parallel Marshall amp. It's hard to tell.
yeah,
It kind of has. It kind of sounds like a blues breaker turned up.
yeah. Could also be like a.
It's also tracked separate, so
Could
it
also
could
be a
be
bassman. You know.
could be anything. Yeah, it could be a tweed bassman. Yeah,
You know, it's very possible.
the silver face ones do not do
No.
that.
No.
Or a tweed twin.
See.
So for those of you who don't know, tweed is the covering that's on it.
Oh, I know.
The covering changes the sound.
Ah, that's what I'm supposed to learn.
That's what you're supposed to learn. Now, I got a question for you, Aaron.
Yeah, what's up?
When you're listening to this, are you listening to the original pressings, or are you listening to the remaster?
I'm listening to the first thing that popped up when I looked it up.
Okay. Because I check
So,
into that. The bass was a lot louder on the remaster.
yeah,
I noticeably louder, and the cymbals were crispy, which I found annoying.
yeah. Oh, I know. Like I couldn't. I was listening kind of pretty close, and I was like, I think I can hear the kick drum. I'm not sure I can hear the kick drum in this track.
Why
Like
would that be? Why wouldn't you be able to hear the kick drum?
well, this is just going back to real estate and
Yeah.
how in the front that bass part is in the mix.
That and vinyl doesn't print bass very well.
You could, well, yeah, that's a whole other thing. But definitely,
Neither does tape, for that matter. You get the bass too loud on tape, and it'll cross into your other tracks. You
yeesh.
got to be a little careful with your ultra low end. That was one of the perks to digital here. But listening back to this, I went back and listened to the original masters that are digitized as opposed to the remasters.
Yeah.
It definitely took some of that low end out. It was a little more pleasant for me to listen to. It's also easier to hear the guitar,
Oh, well, that helps.
which is the least important part of this entire song. But as a guitar player, you know, I can't help it. You know, my brain goes, oh man, that vocalist is a really, really good singer. That bass line's hot. I love those horn sections. But I listen to the guitar.
I mean, it's you're kind of supposed to. It's kind of like
and then I try and break down the engineering in my head. You know, how are they panning and things.
yeah.
But funky bass line.
Oh yes.
I don't know how this guy does this technique without felts. It seems like a lot of work to me. But the versatility of being able to just do it with your left hand is priceless, man. Because now you do so many different things when you're playing bass.
Yeah. It also, like, you know, that's part of the tight funkiness, right? You keep those transients like nice and you keep the tails really nice and short, and it's like you leave lots of room. It's such a cool move, man. I'm going to be practicing it. I hope you will be too. You know?
Yeah, guys, send us your videos. Let us know how you're trying this stuff. If you've got questions about it,
work on that left hand funk, y'all. Show me up.
Breaking it down. And then also make sure you don't get copy striked. You know, just watch out for that.
Yeah.
Don't fight them.
Yeah, let it wash over you.
Oh man.
Let the litigation just.
So as people are trying, because this bass part is the song. It makes the song. Let's be serious about that. The bass part makes the song, and it's so unique.
Yeah.
You know, this is probably the only guy doing this.
You mean at the time?
Period.
Nah.
There's probably guys doing it now. I don't know who's doing it now. I don't know anybody playing like this. Everybody I know is tends to lean more towards James Jamerson, add some spaces and.
Yeah, well, I don't know, like how big a pop, because you know you can go. Was it the bass player from the new Master Sounds is doing this little move, like crazy? But you know that's that's not like top 40 or anything.
I
But
don't even know what top 40 is anymore. I'm sorry, guys.
that's
I
that's
have
okay.
access to every single album in the entire planet. So I listen to what I like.
The New Master Sounds is a great funk band. It's local too. Fairly certain they're from this area, and they're hot, man.
Who is this
Yeah.
again?
The New Master Sounds,
The
I think
New
is the
Master
name.
Sounds. All right, we can pop
And
that in the link below.
instrumental funk. It's it's tasty,
Instrumental
man.
funk. Yeah. I think if you want to check out Snarky Puppy,
Okay, yeah, okay.
right?
Oh
Definitely
yeah.
would they do some of this stuff? I feel like a little jazzier.
Uh, yeah, they're a little bit. They're a different animal in some ways, but not that they wouldn't have these chops. They for sure would have these chops.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely have the chops.
I
Well,
saw them
guys,
live not too long ago. It was pretty good.
ooh,
It was intense. It was good though.
so we're still in the middle of quarantine with no shows, so don't get everybody too excited
Mm,
about shows yet.
okay, sorry. My bad. No.
It's terrible. Oh yeah, we need to date stamp this. This is Monday, uh,
The 10th of
the 10th
August
of August.
in the greatest year ever.
I mean, this has been a happening year, man, for history books. Man, if you're a history writer right now, this is it. This is your time. You're in the Super Bowl. Um,
Yeah, you'll be writing about 2020 and 2040.
yeah. And for musicians, guys, we're in the woodshed right now. So we're giving you some things to woodshed on.
Yes.
I mean, that's what it's all about. We can't be in public like we used to. Luckily, we're in this age of technology that allows us to be in public and feel a little sense of personal connection with people and not completely lose that.
Yeah, don't go totally crazy in isolation.
Well, we're gonna leave it at that, guys. This is
Yeah.
What Is Hip?
What
A
is
Tower
it?
of Power. What is hip? Now it's gonna get that's the one that's gonna copy strike it. Sound just like the background vocals. Guys, hit us a like, subscribe, a share, hit a comment. We'll catch you next
You know
time.
what to do.